Well, what's up, good people? Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. So we're hearing some rumors that the Cowboys allegedly have not one but two deals and are working on a third one here, that we are waiting to hear if there's anything this evening before the game tonight, or if anything happens and transpires, I guess first thing tomorrow. One of the areas that we know that they are looking to do something is definitely linebacker, and it sounds like linebacker is somebody that they've gotten squared away. At least that's what the rumor mill is. And a name that we've been hearing a lot of lately is Demario Davis, who's with the New Orleans Saints. Now, a couple of things where you say, okay, maybe this makes sense because they know Kellen Moore, and maybe they'd be looking to say, hey, Kellen, your team's not going anywhere and things like that. You know, let's help you out. Demario Davis is a 36-year-old linebacker. And before you start saying, oh, another old guy, Demario, if we go and look at Pro Football Focus, that Pro Football Focus isn't the be-all, end-all. Sometimes they get things wrong. Sometimes they get things right. If you go by Pro Football Focus, they have Demario, 6'2", 248, 36 years young. His overall grade for 25, that's this year, on a bad team is 78.6, which rates him 11th out of the 80 linebackers, as opposed to Kenneth Murray, who is 79th. So that's definitely a lot better. Snap count, he's got 592 snaps, which is first of all linebackers in the NFL. He's durable. He has 60 tackles, which is third among all linebackers. Now, here's an interesting piece that's right here. Jack Sanborn has gone on IR today with injuries. So there's definitely space for linebacker. Overshone is scheduled to come back probably for the Raider game, hopefully, because that's when the window will close. If he's not back for that one, then we got a problem. He'll have to go on IR for season ender. Demario would be a contract situation because he is still paid a good amount of money. Now, I personally can say that I've actually worked with Demario Davis, and I know him rather well. In fact, Demario has been here sitting right there. And the crazy thing is, you know, they say even a broken clock is right twice a day. People will say you're an idiot and things like that. And I remember sitting here in 2018, and I remember even connecting with Brian Brodus and saying the Cowboys need to get Demario Davis. Or no, maybe it was Mike Fisher. And he's like, man, I ain't got that kind of pull to tell them what to do. But I wish I could travel back with the information I have now to the Cowboys and Jerry and Stephen Jones and say, bro, this would be money well spent. Since his time in 2018 in New Orleans, Demario has had 31 sacks, 811 tackles, 77 tackles for a loss, and 64 quarterback hits. He's been an AP All-Pro once, and he's been an AP All-Pro second 4 times. Yeah, he's been that good. Oh, wait, there's more. In the time that he has played in New Orleans, he hasn't missed a game. Hasn't missed a game. I want you, just in case the Cowboys do make a trade for him, because I've heard Demario Davis's name spoken many, many, many times before. There are a lot of great stories that are out there in the NFL and a lot of great players, and this is truly one of them. Let's go to the clip.
Lost the football. It's scooped up. Running left, Demario Davis. Everything inside me, you're going to get it today.
friends, Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy.
God, he was
Joe
young
Boo.
then.
Always thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Because without you guys, well, this just doesn't work. And here is a special treat, guys. This is actually our first Shrimp and Grits interview here in the Man Cave. And I have here Demario Davis, currently kind of with the Jets, but probably one of the hottest free agents, if the Jets aren't smart enough to re-sign him, that will be out there. One of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL. I believe 135 tackles, 97 solo ones, and 5 sacks. Demario, thank you very much for showing up here tonight.
Hey, Mark, man, I appreciate you for having me on, man. It's a pleasure for you to have me in your spot.
Man, I appreciate it. But forget about all the tackles and stuff. Actually, what I want you to do is I want you to tell everybody how you got to this point. Because listening to your story, growing up and things, and realizing second chances is really your whole life story.
Yeah, man. Yeah. My mom had me when she was 16. I was born in College, Mississippi. Ended up moving with my mom out in Brandon, Mississippi. And, you know, where I'm from and the situation we're in is impoverished, below the poverty line type of situation. You know, my mom was always working at least 2.5 jobs. And so I just always kind of grew up. That was just kind of the norm for me. And, you know, my dad been in the Army, always, you know, going from place to place. You know, what my situation was, I had to look to men in the community, and the men in the community weren't doing necessarily positive things, and so I kind of gravitated towards that. The good thing was I was good on the football field, but the bad thing was, you know, I was getting involved with, you know, drugs, partying, girls, alcohol, all before I entered the 9th grade. You know, and so that's just kind of the world that I was in, and so my grades, of course, started to plummet. You know, I started getting a lot of mischief off the field. You know, got expelled from school. You know, had a couple run-ins with police officers, and you know, I was just kind of a product of my environment. But you know, I had a couple wake-up incidents. You know, when I was in high school, I think God kind of grabbed my attention, and I got on the straight and narrow for my junior and senior year. I went from making C's and D's to making A's and B's, and it pulled my GPA up. And I went from playing offense. The coach brought me over to defense, played defense for the first time my senior year. And I think I went out and had like 100 and something tackles on defense, had like 7 sacks, like 6 interceptions or something like that. And at the end of the season, there was scholarship offers. You know, I didn't even really know what that was, but here was an opportunity for me to leave my environment, go to a better opportunity, get away, and really become a different person. And I took that opportunity. I went to Arkansas State. Unfortunately, I had the same mentality. My first year on campus, I went to jail. Me and one of my teammates was stealing, and ended up in jail for 3 days. But I had a guy who started to spend some time with me. Our team chaplain, he started to spend time with me, started to read the Bible with me, you know, teach me not to just go to church and say I'm a Christian, but to really model my life after God's word and what that really looked like and what that really meant. And that was what changed inside me to let me match the talent that I had on the field with becoming a better person off the field. And when those two met, you know, the sky was the limit. And so fast forward a few years, ended up getting drafted in the, getting drafted in the 3rd round. Met my wife in college, got married the same year I got drafted. Now, you know, 6 years later, been married 5 years, got 3 beautiful children, raising them up in a godly household and a godly home, which, you know, really is breaking a generational cycle. You know, I have a little son. His life will look drastically different than my life and my father's life and his father's life. And so that's just really what I aim for. You know, football is all good, but it's really about the person that you are off the field and with the rest of your time.
Well, you know, this is the time of year that I always say that general managers and team owners basically are holding their breath and hoping that their players stay on the straight and narrow, because you always hear about incidents and things that are off the field. I know you're doing some work with United Way and things, and tell us about what you're doing right now.
Well, that's how I'm in your spot, you know.
I'm lucky. Believe me, I'm really lucky he's here in my spot.
Yeah, because your wife is my boss as I extern with United Way.
She's my boss too.
And I get to extern with them because, you know, for me, it's about bridging that gap. I was able to, make it and achieve my dreams, but I wanted to bridge the gap to people in that same situation that I was in when I was a youth, where there wasn't a lot of avenues to success, and I wanted to help create those avenues to success. So I started doing work in my community. United Way in my local town helped me do that. So I wanted to learn more about United Way on a national level and what they do and how to maximize those resources. And in doing that, I also realized not only can I grow my impact in my community, but I can also help other players from the same situation, from different locations, different cities, different states. I can help them bridge the gap for people in their neighborhoods and their community to reach their dreams. And so that's what it's about. That's what we're doing at United Way, working on NFL player engagement. How do we reach players and help them deliver on their community impact?
Incredible. And believe me, you are an incredible force. And I always say that NFL players, the power that you guys have to change lives is just immense. I can talk to my son all day long and tell him to do this, this, and this, and it goes in one ear, not the other. But somebody that's in your position that talks to him and stuff, they look up to you. And I wish that more players would get it like you do. But what do you think after your football career that you'll be doing? What are you looking at getting into, or have you not thought that far ahead yet?
Oh no, I'm always thinking. I'm always thinking about that. And so, the number one thing that players have to have the ability to do is protect the resources that they get. So be a sponge to soak up as many resources as you can while you're playing. But the game is not for long. So one day you're not going to be a part of the game. So you have to protect all those resources and assets that you come into contact with. And so I think the bulk of what I do to protect myself and my family is about wealth preservation. And so through different investments, learning about long-term real estate investment, learning about private equity, and getting into that space is how, not in a situation where I feel like I need to try to create more wealth, but in a way that I'm just preserving what has been made, that I can pass it down to my children and they can pass it down to their children. And so that's the type of legacy that I want to live. But I think when I'm done playing, because I put myself in a situation financially that I don't have to go right back into the workforce, I think the main thing for me is about raising my kids, my 3 kids. So probably for 10 to 15 years, I'm just going to spend time devoted on my children so I can make sure not only that I can teach them how to manage the resources that I'm going to hand to them, but I can also make sure that they're the right type of people to know how to handle that on their own.
Amen.
Where I don't have to tell them step by step what to do. They can take it and come up with innovative ways on their own to use their brain and not have to necessarily use their body like I have to become, to aspire to new levels.
That's incredible. So now here's the question I always ask from NFL players or current players and stuff is, what is the one hit that you remember most? I don't ask that anymore because I found out
I got in a bad situation. I got a lot of them. Probably. What you want, college or NFL?
Best hit that you ever remember?
Oh man, I think it'd be a couple. It'd be a couple. One was in college. We were playing Middle Tennessee. They were our rival at the time. Big game, a big moment. The running back. I was wearing number 23. The running back was wearing number 23, and he was a little jackrabbit. It was kind of hard to catch him. But one play, he made a play and was running up the sideline, and I came from across the field, and I had a beeline towards him. He was running up the sideline, and where I was coming across the field, it was the perfect point of intersection, and he couldn't cut back. He had one choice, and it was to step out of bounds. And he chose not to step out of bounds. He was going to keep trying to go and beat me up the sideline. Well, I caught him and knocked him from the point that I made contact, knocked him clean into the bench. Several of my teammates had to jump to avoid him flying to our sideline. And I think you can find that one somewhere online. I'm
gonna find that one. Okay.
And probably the next one this past season, I was playing one of my former teammates, Chris Ivory, and he took a handoff on a stretch play, and he was going to bounce outside, and I had the outside responsibility. And instead of going into the middle, he chose to bounce outside, and at the same time he chose to bounce outside, I was just not coming around the outside edge. And it's just one of them hits where you caught him in the sweet spot, whole crowd jumped up, it ignited the team, and that momentum was able to carry us on to a win. And so like those are the type of game-changing plays that you want to make. When you lay a hit like that, it ignites your team, it demoralizes the other team, and it changes the dynamic of the game, and that's the type of hits you want.
Well, you're already knee-deep in working out for next season and stuff. And fortunately, you've come through the season pretty much unscathed. But after your year in Cleveland, you kind of had a few injuries and things like that. I don't think you've actually missed any games with the Jets. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
And what do you attribute to that, to being able to stay healthy for that many games? I mean, it's to me, seeing what you guys do, hit after hit after hit. I mean, it's literally like a car crash when you say every time you hit somebody.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. I mean, the first thing you have to understand is injuries in our game is 100%. And so anytime you see people go these incredible stretches, without missing a game or not missing a snap, it's pretty remarkable when you think about the odds. And so I think I attribute number one is just favor and protection from God. I'm a very spiritual person, so I got to make sure that that's always number one. And so because a lot of stuff that you can't control, sometimes situation and plays you just can't control. But I think a lot of it too is body maintenance. I done a lot of reading up and studying on ways to take care of my body. But I've also had a tremendous amount of vets that I played with, whether it was Calvin Pace, whether it was David Harris, whether it was Bart Scott, whether it was Ed Reed, whether it was the Landry brothers. I played with a lot of good vets who did a lot of good things, whether it was the way they worked out, whether it was the way they used the tubs, whether it was the way they treated their body, whether it was the way they massaged, whether it was the way they did acupuncture. So I just try to take little bits and pieces and learn, what it takes to, to take care of my body. I try to invest somewhere between it takes really a tremendous investment from a financial standpoint to really stay at the top of your game. And so I try to make that investment, each and every year into my body. But it's also, diet and the way that you eat as you get older. Your diet plays a tremendous part.
Okay, the diet tonight probably didn't help any with the shrimp and grits and all that.
No, that was tasty, man. Sometimes you got to treat the body.
Yeah. Well, I saw you were working down with Ed Reed too a couple weeks ago, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's like a huge mentor of mine, and just not only was he he's a future Hall of Famer and probably the greatest safety and one of the best defensive players that ever played a game. But what allowed him to be that is his mind. He has a tremendous mind, and so I'm always on the phone with him, talking to him. But also this year I was able to get a little time away and just go down and spend a few days with him. And we spent a lot of time in the film room, and it was really just understanding the way that he broke down teams, his process, what worked for him. And I just was able to glean a lot of information, for him, so that I can, find different ways to make a lot of plays. I mean, right now, up to this point, I've made a lot of plays in the run game, and I've made a lot of plays in the blitzing game. But it's always about trying to find that next level. And from my standpoint, that's why I say, people haven't even seen the best of it was just to come, because the changes I'm about to make in the passing game, applying a lot of the things that he used, is just really going to take my game to the next level, I feel.
Well, I got to tell you, because originally they weren't looking at you being a starter this year, were they?
Yeah.
And you basically took the reins on that one. And, you can see the energy that you have on the field and stuff when, they had the games where you were mic'd up and everything else. I love the enthusiasm that you have, because it really looks like you're having fun out there.
Oh, man. This is the game we've been playing since we were kids, and then being able to make it to the league, it's a dream come true. And so it's not a day that I take for granted. It's not a day I take for granted in the film room, not a day I take for granted in practice. And the games, it's just, the electricity and the energy that's down on that field, it's electrifying, and it's hard not to play with your hair on fire. And so I just try to bring that to the table each and every game, and especially when they're looking at you as a leader, the way that you step on the field is going to be mimicked by the rest of your team. So if you're down, your team's going to be down. If you're up, your team's going to be up. And so just having that and understanding that, it takes a whole different element into my process. Just understanding they looking at me. When I give the sign and say go, that's when the dog is unleashed. And so I take that process in. As a general, I got to make sure that my troops are ready. But not only do I got to make sure my troops are ready, I got to make sure I'm ready, because the buck, starts and stops with me. And so that's the mentality that I take into each and every week of preparation. And then on Sunday, it's all about letting it go.
Well, you really sound like you're a student of the game and really putting in the work and stuff to get to achieve what you're achieving. So tell me, who was the worst running back that you've ever had to tackle?
Worst meaning like hardest?
Hardest.
Oh, that would be probably my fourth season in the league, playing against Jamal Charles. So that was either 2015 Jamal Charles. Yeah, before his big injury. Man, he was unreal, man. His start and stop ability was, he could really be running, 20, 25 miles an hour and hit the brakes. And so
Like tackling a bull.
Yes. So it's not even like tackling the bull. It's like chasing the road runner.
Okay.
So the caddy, he can get you running fast one direction, and he hits the brakes. You can't stop that after running that fast. So he running 20 miles an hour. It's probably 80% his speed, and that's 100% of yours. Well, when he hits his brakes and you try to stop to make the tackle, you realize that he stopped, but your body is still going to the side. And next thing you realize, you on the film and you ran up and had a clean tackle and you didn't even touch him. And he has the ability. I remember watching film and I'm like, man, these guys are taking all these bad angles. Man, bad angle. I'm like, oh, they just missing these tackles, bad angles. Well, little did I know, he's creating those angles. He's creating those bad angles with that burst stop ability. And I was on the field, I was like, oh, okay. I probably should have humbled myself a little bit and tried to ask why they taking these bad angles. And so, he was definitely the hardest. And I didn't get to see him again to this past year, but he's aged a bit. He ain't the same running back, so it wasn't as much of a challenge. But 20, I think it was 2014 or 2015, Jamal Charles, definitely the hardest player I ever played against.
Well, you're technically a free agent. We'll see if the Jets end up re-signing you, but I guarantee you there will be plenty of people knocking on your doors that will definitely want to have you on their team. I can think of one that could definitely use them. But we won't talk about that. But my man, Demario, thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate you, brother.
And guys, Demario Davis, if you don't know who he is, come out from underneath the rock, because he is definitely one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL. 135 tackles, 5 sacks, 97 solo tackles, which led the NFL. So guys, I'm Mark Holmes. This is Cowboy Joe Boo here with Demario Davis. And thank you guys for watching. I have been blessed to really have done some really cool shit. So the question is Demario Davis the guy, the linebacker that they're actually looking at? I hope so. I truly hope so, because for so many reasons beyond just his play of himself is the motivation that he has, the drive. This is a guy who, he taught me a lot about the business side of the NFL and understanding that you are a sole proprietor. You get a 1099 at the end of the day. And as he put it, whatever team gets me is going to get the best version of me, and they're going to get somebody who's all in to winning. We'll see what happens with the Cowboys. I wish I could go back in time and make the Cowboys have signed Demario Davis. We would have been a much better defense had we did. Peace out.